Rethinking the workforce of the future. Probably one of the most important, confounding, and maybe confusing topics in MSP or anyone running a company can deal with real quick. I was talking with my 22-year-old son, his friends. They're talking about the jobs they're going to get. And one kid said, I wouldn't go after anything that's more than 4:30. I said, what do you mean 4:30? 4 days a week, 30 hours a week. Absolutely no commuting. I won't commute. And then the other thing was, and it has to be raises, every 6 weeks or so. And the kicker for this whole thing is, these kids never had a full-time job after college. They were just going out for a job. So it's a whole new world out there, and there really is no one better to lead us through this than Ron Lovern, Executive VP of Triton Networks and a member of the Channel Futures Advisory Board. He's really passionate about this subject, and he's really been dying to share what he's learned and everything he knows with you today. And he has a great panel to do it with. And just as a reminder, come on out, gang. We'll be taking questions at the end of this. I'll be running the mic from there. Jeanette's going to be running the mic from the other side. So make sure to get some good questions together, because you'll probably have a lot of them. Take it away, Ron. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Hello. My name is Ron Lovern. He said Executive Vice President, Triton Networks out of Dallas, Texas. And why am I up here today? Well, I'm also an advisory board member for Southern Methodist University in Dallas, SMU. And after the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated within our industry and forced many of us to find new, innovative ways to approach business, customers, and employees to keep our clients up and running, that we wanted to move and see what was going on post-pandemic. So in the spring of 2021, SMU assembled an industry forum task force to analyze these changes and required educational outcomes. Well, how does that work for us here in this auditorium? One of them is the priority skills gaps that we're missing today, what we need to do, what we need to work on, the workforce, the who, the where, the workplace, the what, the workforce. So I would like to introduce, please, a round of applause for Sharlene Jenner, VP, Abelson Taylor, and my peer on the SMU Workforce of Tomorrow Advisory Board. Sharlene has over 18 years in the industry, in the strategy and digital field, as an industry speaker, coach, and mentor. She also teaches a course on artificial intelligence and personalization for digital marketers for Southern Methodist University, and she was named Top Women Leader in Dallas in 2022. My next guest, very well renowned, Gary Sorrentino, Global CIO for Zoom, and Global Deputy CIO for 2 years prior to that. Gary was the global head of client cyber awareness and education for JP Morgan Asset Wealth Management, as well as managing director, and is presented around the globe. Most recently on fostering a culture of collaboration at the World Economic Forum. Thank you. Next, we have Rob Miller, Director of Channel Marketing at AT&T. Rob's background in creating innovative customer experiences and entrepreneurial mindset is now being used to help accelerate partner growth in the channel at AT&T. Rob recently graduated with his MBA from SMU and is also an alumnus of the AT&T Business Sales Leadership Development Program. Thank you very much. And next we have Kelechi Onyebuchi. I did it right. All right, KC is the Director of North American UCC, Connectivity and U.S. Collaboration, Go-to-Market Strategy. KC is Director of Business Development across North America. And he is a leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion across TD Synnex as well. KC is also an SMU alum. Thank you. And to begin this, I would like to start with an introduction of Mark Austin, who's the VP of Data Science and Video. He introduces the partnership between AT&T and SMU.
My name is Mark Austin. I'm the VP of Data Science at AT&T, and I wanted to share a few words with everybody today about some views about the future workforce development, and specifically around a program that we put together called the Data Science Scholar Program in cooperation with SMU and AT&T. Let me give you a little bit of background about our team at AT&T. So we're about 300 data scientists and developers that work all across the businesses, whether it's in network or sales or marketing or finance or tax. We help these business units either save costs or increase revenue. And then on top of that, we also help somewhat of a center of excellence for AT&T, and we develop self-service AI and data tools, as well as incorporate a number of third-party tools as well. And specifically, the problem that we had, which I think a lot of you probably have as well, is finding data science talent across the industry. And we also wanted to see if we could get some underrepresented classes in STEM, namely women and minorities. We could bring in some data science students in that regards. So as part of being on the Big Data Advisory Board at SMU, I brought this problem to the board and asked if they could help. And what was great is that we put together a program taught by SMU faculty. It's an internship. And the first 8 weeks, the SMU faculty is actually teaching. And the cool thing about it is that they actually incorporate our stack into the lesson. So our students come out trained on Azure, Databricks, and our AI as a service tools. And in the 5th week, we pair each student with a mentor at AT&T to start working with them on an AT&T business problem. And then over the next 8 weeks, they actually complete that problem. So they come out very relevant and applied there. And I'm happy to say that the program's been a great success. At the first program we launched in fall 2022, the students came on board. They were working hand in hand with our mentors and our groups, and they had a big presentation at the end, which was great to see the results. And we've actually hired 3 out of the first group, and it's been a great program. We're going to expand it in 2023, and I'm looking forward to much more development in that regard. So it's a nice tool. I love this Data Science Scholar Program partnership with SMU, and it might be something you might want to consider as well. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Now, part of the study introduced the topic SMU report in the spring of 2021 was about the priority skills gaps. So we have the workforce, which is the who, skills, human capabilities, jobs, and talent operations. We have the workplace, which is where, technology, geographic location, digital collaboration, culture, and physical design is included in there. And work, the what. So these are the activities, the outcomes of work, and value of the work, the who is the where, and the what. To help me kind of explain this and go through a little bit further, I'm going to open up the questioning. And first, Sharlene, I want to ask you as far as, we hear a lot about the mix of generations, right, in the workforce today. What is the difference about today's workforce?
It's a really good question. Ultimately, this is the first time that we have had 5 generations in the workforce at one time. Previously, we've had 3 or 4, but this is the first time we've seen the culmination of so many different generations. Different from the first 3 generations that were in the workplace, these 2 newer ones, the millennials and Generation Y, really look at work as an extension of their lives instead of a separate component. So being able to understand how they're going to approach life differently with their work in mind. Most of this really comes together in terms of the way that they approach work, the way that they problem solve, and the way that they need different support levels from their leadership. So when we start to look at how generations want to work together, we have to look at this as leaders to say, what are the ways that we can help them bring their best work and then also help nurture them to stay with the organizations.
Very good, thank you. And Gary, I listened to your global workforce forum speeches, and you're very well defined. You very well define the differences between frontline workers and knowledge workers. And I think we've all had this discussion privately as far as what that looks like. But can you elaborate more on those worker terms? What does that mean?
Sure. So today we're looking at 2 communities, the frontline worker and the knowledge worker. I think the first thing we have to talk about is while they do have differences, their needs are becoming together. And I think that's today why frontline workers have become so important. The frontline worker is at the point that work or services happen. That's a healthcare worker. That's a person who's providing a product or service directly to the client, not sitting in an office and talking about it. That's more of a knowledge worker. The frontline worker normally was somehow disconnected from the company, working maybe nowhere near the company, providing that service, and needed not that much of attachment to the company. So this is where it's changing. The knowledge worker, mostly tech, finance, back office, they were using applications. They were using technology. Yes, they were communicating over phones to clients, but they were connected to the company. And they were a different type of worker. They collaborate more. Different than the person who's actually delivering, or the resource that's actually delivering the service. But today, we have to look at both of them together. Because now the frontline worker, and I think as Sharlene said, we're seeing a mixed generation of frontline workers, and they're demanding more. Yes, I'm a frontline worker. Yes, I'm out in the field. Yes, I'm delivering the products and services. But I want the collaboration. I want the connectivity that maybe pre-pandemic frontline workers didn't require or ask for. So I think today there are two separate groups. They work completely differently, but their needs are finally starting to mesh together. And so companies have to struggle with not only the different generations of workers, but these two different types of workers who are both demanding the same thing.
Great. Thank you. And I know this wasn't part of it, but we talked about the audience, right? So we have a lot of MSPs and agents and IT support groups. And when you asked is, who's going to be in the audience, and I'm thinking it's more knowledge workers as opposed to frontline workers. But for what the most part of what 70, 80% of what we do is frontline work, right? It's not that lot of knowledge base. So even as MSPs and people in this room, that we need to learn to move to that knowledge worker state.
Yes, I would agree.
Rob, so as AT&T has a number of business development programs for AT&T for employees, saw the data science bootcamp that Mark Austin provided us in the partnership with SMU. So what does the internal focus look like for talent development within AT&T?
Sure. So our focus is really on making sure that any new and existing employees have the skill set that they need to be successful within the company. So we do that through our business development programs, our leadership development programs. We do that through continuous learning, and then we do that through some top talent development as well. But we've had historically a really great portfolio of leadership development programs. We had some for undergrads, for graduate students, and people mid-career. But we've really evolved that recently, and we've gone to more business unit specific development programs. So you're seeing new ones, like there's a new finance one, there's a new marketing development program. The folks that Mark Austin mentioned they're likely going to hire would go into a technology development program. So that would be a 2-year rotational program. And what I think this has allowed is for people to make an easier transition into where they're actually going to have full-time employment. They're already meeting that leadership. They're already able to network with their peers and learn the exact skill set that they need to be successful in that role. Rather than being more of a generalist, they're being more of a specialist. So I think that's been really effective that we've shifted and had a growth year over year in the number of development programs that we offer. And then I graduated from the business sales LDP. Ron, I know you went to more of a mid-career development program. I can say that was really effective for me in just being immersed in the culture, learning the products and solutions, having a cohort of peers too that I can lean on when I need to. And to this day, about 11 years later, I still talk to a lot of those people daily and make sure we understand what's going on in other parts of the business, which has been great. So always looking at our development programs to understand how do we make sure they're the most effective, and we're always evolving existing ones, launching new ones, sometimes retiring them if we don't feel like they're as effective as they can be. Right. So important part.
And that's good. And as you mentioned, I was part of the AT&T development program, right? And it was from different programs in organizations, coming off the street. You have a leadership development program, then you have a mid-tier leadership development group. And I think it's really important that companies have that opportunity to do that. Even if you're a small MSP, like Triton Networks, we provide certifications, we provide training, we provide development, we provide mentoring within our organization, even though it's small. We only have 16 full, staff people. And with that, we have, beside myself, CEO Robert House, we work through each individual department and we provide mentoring there as well. So I think it's very important no matter how big or small you are. KC, TD Synnex has developed some very key programs to help MSPs, VARs, and agents in development and certification of employees for your partners. Why do you do that? What programs and training, enablement, services, and support do you offer to your customers?
Yeah, so I like that a lot because I think traditionally distribution has been a backstop for a lot of things. Early on, it was a backstop for your logistics and getting things shipped out.
Right.
Then it became our real big value was we're going to help you on the marketing side when you didn't have enough resources. We've kind of since shifted from that to also that enablement and learning piece as well. So that learning piece and being able to get our MSPs, our partners, our VARs ready to sell has really been the differentiator for us moving forward, specifically at TD Synnex. So we've put in a lot of programs. Originally, it was about the ecosystem, making sure that each and every one of you had a chance to collaborate and get an equal spot at the table. But now we've really moved into understanding that it's not just about making you generalist and able to understand. I remember when I was doing my certifications having to learn about AlohaNet and ARPANET. Like, that's great, but how does that help me sell this specific product? So we've really moved the way that we do our training within the MSP space, within our partner space at large, and really focused in on how do I move from being just the person who has memorized a bunch of IP tables into the person who can build a connection with the person on the other side of the table and really be focused on selling and solutions type plays. So it's kind of moving with technology into making us more critical thinkers even in the partner space.
Very good, very good. And I know that, technology has accelerated business very quickly in the last 5 years. Everyone can agree with that. And the pandemic accelerated our workforce and capabilities during that time. Maybe a little bit too much, right? So, Gary, recent statistics that you shared in one of your global forums was that 58% of employees feel that they have lost the skills they need to do their job today. 70% feel they're unprepared for the future of their work. So, why is that? Why has it changed so drastically?
And those are great statistics, right? They're actually from Amazon. And think about it. If you're a CEO and you're thinking about the future of work in your company, and you know that 70% of the people that work in your organization today feel they're not ready for the future of work. So I'm just going to break it down between two things. And I know we talked about training and becoming a generalist and a specialist, but today it's really about, I break it down between upskilling and training. And I look at it this way. Training is about teaching me my job. I don't have to remember IP tables. I can get that a little better. Today it's about upskilling. It's about making me feel like I belong in the future of work and I'm learning to work in different ways than pre-pandemic. Great example. Okay, the Gen Zs, they brought us chat, right? They don't want to talk. They don't want to communicate. They hate email. They want to chat, but most important, they want to work asynchronously. So if I'm selling out into the real world today, I have to learn the people I'm dealing with, they don't want to get mail from me anymore. They don't want to deal in real time. They would rather me deal in short messaging. Hey, can I talk to you later? Here's the price you need for that. But today, we have to teach the employees, the frontline workers and the knowledge workers, a new way to work. I travel all over, as you talked about, and when I travel all over the world, I find that other school systems, they teach the students how to learn, and then they teach them subjects. Well, I came up in the U.S. school system. No one taught me how to take notes.
No.
So wouldn't it be great if we can teach people how to work together, how to collaborate and communicate as a modern workforce? Because that's what they're lacking. They know how to make the widgets. They know how to do the financial reports. What they don't know how to do is communicate and collaborate. That's the part that they think they're afraid of.
It's very important. And, I think that one of the things that COVID-19 accelerated within the industry is forced us to find new and innovative ways to approach this, right? And companies are now faced with, where do we go from here, right? So, Gary, most people would agree that Zoom benefited from the pandemic, but video collaboration is just a part of what you bring to this discussion around responding to the market. What are some key points around how successful companies have approached the where part as far as post-pandemic?
So I think they approach the where part by thinking about their employees and figuring out how they're earning the right of their commute. And that really means, okay, where people work should not be important. It should be, how do we enable people to be productive anywhere they need to be? And let's stop worrying about physically. Now that's going to mean a change for management because management has to measure productivity in a different way than ours. And that's a problem. So I think today it's about how do we earn the right of that commute and how do we actually look into our own facilities and say, do we want a modern workforce? Yes. Do we want a modern workplace? Yes. Would the 2019 model work? I hope the answer is always no.
Very good. Casey, so we heard great points from Gary. And where do you see most of our MSP, VAR, and agent partners are most successful in how they approach or where they approach the where in where we work?
The where is so critical right now because I think far too often in these conversations we're reacting on our own emotion on this is what I feel should work. I'm used to this specific model and that's how I'm going to go forward versus looking at the data and saying, have my employees actually been effective working remotely? And I think the answer for a lot of organizations that we deal with is yes, they've been very effective remotely, but it just doesn't feel right for those of us who have been forced to come into the office for so long. And so we want to go back to a model that just doesn't work. And so where it's there's this bone of contention is you've got the companies that have moved to really focus in on hybrid, and they've got UC communications and all of these tools making that work available versus those who haven't. And I think we have to just be honest with ourselves for each individual company on where we are choosing to be in that model, whether it's that we are choosing to bring people back because it feels good, or are we doing it because of data? And honestly, if you're bringing them back, there are many ways that works well, but you still have to keep that hybrid model in mind because there will always be remote people who need to be able to reach back in and have the same access to resources. And so whether that's training, whether that's face-to-face type meetings and using Zoom and other tools like that, that has to be a biggest factor in it. So I try not to get prescriptive on whether you should be in the office or shouldn't. It's about whether your organization is ready and has the tools in place so that a remote experience can feel just as in-person as a face-to-face.
Very good, very good. So Sharlene, it may be more difficult, right, for some of us than others to change the way we do business. Mm-hmm. I know we've had to go through some changes, whether we like them or not, at Triton. And it's difficult. So on the where we're doing business, what are some trends that you see in attracting and maintaining your key talent?
Sure. There's two things that really come to mind when you start to look at retaining talent. The first one is being able to understand how problem solving has started to change in the workforce. Before, it used to be you'd have to do all this research, create a giant deck yourself, and present it. Well, now that generative AI has come into the workforce and ChatGPT has entered the conversation, we're starting to see a lot of different things show up now where work is actually starting to go faster. People are starting to have more room in their life to be able to have that research done for them and then be able to now be that creative person. What is interesting here is as an organization, you have to be able to understand where technology is starting to move and where you can meet technology in the center. Shameless plug, I teach artificial intelligence at SMU, and it's a fantastic program. I highly suggest everybody take it. Because if you're looking at how does your company generate some revenue out of artificial intelligence or emerging technology, everyone has been asking me, is AI going to take our jobs? Is this younger generation going to be so entrenched in technology that some of us who are older in our field are not able to catch up? And the answer is no. It's not here to take our jobs, but what's going to happen is those that can understand the technology and know how to use it will take the jobs, which then dovetails in my trend number 2, which is cultivating a learning mindset. As an organization, just like Gary and Casey have talked about, it's all about location, but it's also about training and making sure that your folks can know what's coming into the future. So from a learning mindset, as a manager of people, I don't naturally have these skills to be able to say, this is how we manage a new generation, or this is how we create a learning culture. So it's going to make a lot of the managers today, we have to learn that we got to learn some new things too. And we have to create a culture where we are constantly teaching our employees new things so that they can build the bridge for our company to new technologies and new revenues. But then also, we're investing in those employees. And when you invest in employees, they feel included, they feel like they want to stay, they want to build the vision of the organization.
It's very good. I know that at Triton, we're doing that as far as upgrading. When you get to the next certification or you get to a next level in your progress as far as development and training, we're either giving you a bonus or, giving you that next level. It's not necessarily a promotion, but it does incent you to get to the next level as well and stay. And that's the key, right? A lot of people say, well, what happens if I train them? And the old adage is, what happens if we don't, right? So the most important part is you have to have, it's not train. Gary taught me this very, very big point. It's not training, it's upskilling, right? So Rob, prior to the pandemic, companies have begun consolidating offices across the country. And that changed during the pandemic. Everything was put on hold. And then the work environment, started to change, and now people are coming back. So what does that look like today in companies like AT&T?
Yeah, so depending on what you do for the company and where you live, your workplace can be very different from others. We've really become much more flexible in the way that we work with each other, the way that we connect, which I think has been great. At headquarters where I work in Dallas, I can say that it's starting to look a little bit like pre-pandemic on some days. And the reason for that is we try to kind of coordinate schedules and understand, when are you planning on coming in? Let's come in at the same time. So we're not just going in and having virtual meetings by ourselves in the office, but we can actually have that collaborative experience again, which has been really great. But on the other hand, a lot of my team is fully remote and is going to stay that way. And I think that's okay. I think with the ecosystem of solutions and technology that a lot of us in the room sell, the connectivity, the collaboration tools like Zoom, obviously a lot of the hardware and software that it takes to make this possible, I think is more critical than ever. And it's really been effective in us being able to do this, have people that are in person and remote collaborate together in a reliable, effective way. And the way that we've also connected with our customers has changed quite a bit. So in a previous role, I worked in our executive briefing center, and that was in Dallas at HQ. And hybrid is the big buzzword in that industry too, in the briefing world. And so when we built our center in 2016, we had almost no virtual component of our meetings. It was pretty much a requirement that you had to fly there to meet with our customers, and that was the best way.
Right.
And now what we're seeing is that as of this year, I think year to date, we're about 38% of our briefings with customers have a virtual component. So we've seen this massive shift. We had to transform our space. We had to bring in a lot of these tools to be able to connect. But there's been a lot of benefits to that. We've seen our average attendee size of our customers that we're able to engage with go from about 5 to over 9. We're able to get more C-suite customers involved, and our partners leverage our briefing centers too. So it's been awesome for us to not only use these tools to work together better, but also connect with our customers in new ways and reach more people.
Very good. Thank you. So as we wind down, I want to briefly touch on the what, right? So talking about the reason why we all go to work, for the what, is I think everybody would agree 9 to 5 is not normal anymore, right? And going home does not exist in our industry. Most of us as MSPs and owners and in the industry, it's a 24/7 job, but we do focus, during our work days, and is the same today as it was pre-pandemic, right? So Casey, what are the ways that we do business has changed over the 3 years, and what is your perspective working with partners as the industry is growing, where it's going? Are we more productive today?
I think we are more productive as a whole. I think the way that we measure productivity has changed as well, and that's something that we have to keep in mind. So for us at TD Synnex, we're looking at just the speed to market being so important. So so many of us out here have to get certifications depending on the product lines that we're pushing and the vendors that we're working with. And so we've really focused in on having both our teams at TD Synnex as well as our vendors and partners able to get certified faster. So one way that we've done that is leveraging more artificial intelligence in some of our learning tools as a gap bridger that we can use, right? So we did something recently where we actually created the training module for one of our largest vendors in our portfolio, and we're able to get those people trained up faster than the vendor could even build a training module on that. And then for another big chunk of my business there, we have a certain certification that takes typically 2 to 3 days to finish. We were able to use AI and help people get certified within 30 minutes. So going from 2 days to 30 minutes, like that's a level of productivity that just wasn't available before. So we've got to take advantage of that and use, we've done this in the past on the services side where we fill in and we're your services back end. But now we're doing that on the learning and enablement and upskilling side of the house as well.
Very good. Nice. You used the word upskilling. That's a bingo word.
Right?
All right. So Rob, so there's been a great shift in the workforce, right, in the last few years, particularly the last 18 months. What are some of the drivers that you see the companies, need to create opportunities for employees and grow? And what does that do to the business culture?
Yeah, I think change is the biggest driver for us, and it's probably a cliched term or phrase, but we say it all the time at AT&T. The only constant in this company is change. And because of that, we have created this culture of continuous learning and upskilling. And we've seen a lot of focus put onto that, and a lot of our employees embrace it as well. So we've built a lot of different diverse learning paths, and we've made them business specific as well, or business unit specific, which has allowed people, again, to learn more relevant skills and close some of those gaps. And we've just always are encouraging continuous learning. So whether it's a nano degree, a certification, whether it's graduate programs. I know when I went to SMU to pursue my MBA, that was highly encouraged and supported by leadership, which was awesome. We've even created some recent certifications. We just created a fiber one for all of our employees because it's so critical to our network and our business. But then we also extended that to partners as well. So a lot of the robust training that we've built, we like to extend also externally to our partners. And if you are interested in that, you can go across the hall and chat with us about becoming a partner, of course. But
a little plug there.
A little plug there. But yeah, it's been, I think it's just created this culture of continuous learning. And I think people know that the pace of change is so fast, you have to embrace that, and you want to look for that. And we have all of that training and upskilling opportunity there. You just have to jump in and do it. But I think what's really interesting now is that the most tenured people aren't necessarily holding the most relevant skill set today. There are people coming in with new skills. There's people that can pursue these learning opportunities and become upskilled very quickly and be really competitive in our business.
Thank you. And Gary, so as we've discussed the knowledge worker and availability, and how do we transcend, organizations today and create a more intelligent workforce, more thinker type environment? And in part of that, can you kind of define upskilling versus training that we kind of alluded to earlier?
Well, part of it, I think, is this. Companies today have to assess their workers. And I think one of the things we all have to agree, the employees we sent home 3 years ago are not the same employees that came back.
Right.
Ourselves included. So we've changed, our employee base has changed, our customers have changed. Yet we're still trying to work 2019 style in some cases. So I think today it's about figuring out how your company wants to work. What is the culture? What is it, whether it's hybrid or flexible? And then upskilling your individuals to learn, okay, there are different tools out there. It's okay to use ChatGPT to help you. It's okay to learn how to communicate over chat rather than email. I was working on something with our head of HR, and we did an experiment. We wrote a whole blog over chat and promised never to meet. And from beginning to publish, we never met. And we did the whole thing asynchronous, but it was an experiment to say, this is a new way to work. How are we going to bring this into our culture? And how are we going to make people understand this is okay? It is okay to experiment. It's okay to succeed. It's okay to fail. But let's just keep changing the way we work and make it so that it's more robust for everyone and that people are learning. I don't have to come into the office to do that. I can work today. The office is about collaboration. And I think one of my colleagues said it. What does Deloitte say? One of their famous things? Don't commute to compute. Just stay home, right? If you want to come to collaborate, our office is a destination for collaboration. That's the upskilling we need.
That's awesome. And I apologize. We are getting close to the time. So I know that we want to ask questions. I don't know if anybody's standing to wait to ask questions, but if you click on this QR code, you will be able to submit questions. We'll get back to you with information, and there's a lot of information on the reports that we did. There's a lot of information in regards to what we've talked about today. So the last word, Sharlene, my peer, my partner, I'm going to give you. So with so much good discussion that we've had today from this panel, and we've had, conversations on the office culture, flexibility, how does SMU provide a model for organizations to upskill employees?
Oh, absolutely. SMU has been an amazing partner to corporations to be able to understand how you can look at upskilling and how you can look at your employees. Historically, it used to be learning or training was an employee's individual endeavor. They had to figure out what they wanted to do. They had to find a class and ask their manager, can I take this class? Is there money in the budget? What SMU has partnered with a lot of different organizations and different industry leaders. Ron and I sit on a panel of future of the workforce where they ask us questions. What are the skills that employees need today? What are the different things that employees need to have to be ready for this new workforce? And what they've created is an amazing curriculum of being able to help you understand data science, visualization, storytelling, artificial intelligence, sales development. They've created a curriculum that really helps an employer understand these are the types of skills I want my employees to grow in their opportunity. And then from an employee perspective, this is a way that I can see that my company is interested in my growth and interested in helping me become a leader in the organization. So they've spent a lot of time pulling that curriculum together, and it's been really successful in being able to give employers and employees an opportunity to learn.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Again, the QR code, there's information on there, but first I want to welcome to the stage Director, Partner Managed Services, from Cisco, Leonard Thompson. Thank you.